Welcome, fellow Toastmasters and guests. The meeting of online presenters has now begun. Guests, please note that in order to be a member of our club, you must be a current or a former active member of Toastmasters International and have completed at least 6 speeches from either the traditional or Pathways programs. Or you have another option. You must have substantial relevant presentation experience that you demonstrate in a 3 to 5 minute speech delivered during one of our meetings. All requests for membership are subject to board approval. If you have not already done so, please change your panel to ensure it shows your name and role if you have one. Right-click and select Rename to do so. We have members and often guests from many countries throughout the world. Thus, as a professional organization, we ask that you please be aware of language or word usage that may be considered offensive or otherwise insensitive due to cultural differences. Please note that we will be recording the meeting. Your video audio contributions may be used for our club marketing purposes. Also, please mute your microphone if you're not speaking. And the theme of the evening today is Who Moved My Cheese? Please welcome our club president, Nick Lacani.
Thank you very much, Andre. Thank you for that. We're going to be hearing from him in a second. But who moved my cheese? I have no idea what's going to happen in the next hour and 15 minutes, but I'm really excited to find out. My name is Nick Lacani. I am honored to be president of this club. I've been a Toastmaster for 4 years and 1 month, and I just really like it in this club. I'm a member of 4 other clubs, and I'm really excited to be at this meeting and to share my time with you. So let's get on with this. In terms of tonight's meeting, we have a Toastmaster of the Day who's going to talk us through. And the good news is that we have all 3 of our speakers here today. And so, Andre, it gives me great pleasure to introduce all the way from about 3 miles that way, near my house. Please welcome Toastmaster of the Day, Andre Smolenko.
Thank you, Nick. I'm a Toastmaster of the Day, and my role is to try to run this meeting as smooth as possible and as fun as possible as well. I've chosen the theme for the evening, Who Moved My Cheese? The reason being for it is my daughter just turned 13, and recently she had a chat with me. One of those chats when I was thinking, oh, about the birds and the bees, or maybe something else, but no, it wasn't like that. It was similar. She asked me a question, Dad, can I have a boyfriend? And that was the end of my world. 13 years old, my little baby, grown up, shoots off. And my initial reaction was, no way, you can't, and you're grounded for life, and you're gonna stay home, and I'm gonna send you to the monastery. And then I just took a pause, thought for a while, and then I realized that, look, she's changing, and I have to change with her. I have no choice. If I don't change, I will become extinct. And in order for me to change, in order for us to change, I decided to have a look around, and I found this book. Right, I cannot see, but the book is called Who Moved My Cheese by Dr. Spencer Johnson. I just want to find out, if you're aware of this book, please raise your hand so I can see. The book is called Who Moved My Cheese. Very, very well, thank you. I can see a few people never heard of it, but very briefly, brilliant book that demonstrate how we can cope with change in our life. A book about the maze. In that maze, in terms that 2 mice, animals running about, always changing, always finding the cheese. And to many people, as we are, with their beliefs and complicated minds, trying to make their life difficult. And then I thought, well, I read this book with my daughter. So this is my challenge to do it next. And this is why I think it's relevant for all of us these days, whether in a family life, in business, in work, or in Toastmasters, we have to change. Otherwise, we're going to become extinct. And this is the theme of the evening: change or become extinct. I'm not going to run this evening on by myself. And I'm not going to read this book to you as well. Even though I prepared a little abstract from this book, I'm going to share in the chat. I have a group of helpers, the people who are going to help me run this meeting smoothly and in a fun manner. Let me introduce you the first helper who is going to be doing a timer's role. And helper is Jim Gould. Jim Gould, please explain about your role and please keep it brief.
Mr. Toastmaster, I will be taking care to use my timing tool, which is the deal with Toastmasters to time. I will be turning green lights on and yellow lights on and red lights on, and I'll flash red lights until people pay attention. I will report to the general evaluator the times to make sure that everyone qualifies. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Jim. The next helper I'm going to introduce is our accountant, Asil Paizanova.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster of the day, Andre. Do you remember the Queen of Hearts from Alice Wonderland? If she was our accountant, imagine her saying, "If you stammer and use filler words, I'll order off with your head." Fellow Toastmasters and dear guests, luckily, I'm not the Queen of the Hearts. I am the Queen of Arms. During the meeting, I'll count the number of unnecessary sounds and filler words, such as like, you know, and so on. When I'm called upon by our general evaluator, I'll give my report. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster of the day. Andre?
Oh, thank you very much, Asil. I really liked it. That was brilliant. Right, our next helper for the evening is grammarian Trisha Smith. Please introduce your role briefly and tell us more about it.
Hello, my description is not going to be as exciting as Asil. That was awesome. I am grammarian and I have my video off, not intentionally. My job is going to be listening to how everybody uses the English language. So making note of exceptional language use and word of the day, which is refractory. I put it in the chat box. It is an adjective and it means stubborn or unmanageable. A sentence to go with it: the refractory workers were fired. So take a look at the chat box and I'll report back when asked to toward the end of the meeting. Thank you. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you very much, Trisha. Yes, that was educational, interesting. And the word of the day is in the chat. Well, thank you for doing that. Really helps. The next helper who is going to help me to run the meeting smoothly and with a bit of fun is our watcher. We proud at our online presenters club to have a watcher, which many clubs envy about. Mahfouz Rahman, please introduce your role and tell us all about your work.
Absolutely. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, depending where you're located. I am watching you. I want to make sure you are bringing your best behavior and you are helping our presenters today. And I want to make sure that you're using the proper lights, proper background, and you are also encouraging the meeting to run smooth. So I'll be watching you, And absolutely, if I need to get back to you, definitely I'll ping you. But with that note, I'll have a report for you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Mr. Watcher. Yes, Mr. Watcher is watching us. Be aware of that. And next helper I'm going to introduce again. We are very proud of this role as online presenters. It's called Chat Monitor. Chat Monitor, Sarah Idahan, please introduce your role briefly and tell us all about this.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. I'm the chat monitor, and I will be monitoring the chat. I'll be looking for helpful or encouraging or humorous comments that may be in the chat. I'll also be looking for questions, and I'll try to answer those or either pass them on to the Toastmaster or someone else who could answer them for you. And when called upon, I will give a 1-minute report of what I have noticed in the chat. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Sarah. It was brief and to the point introduction. It helps to run meeting nice and smooth and fun as well. The next helper I'm going to introduce, yes, we do have many helpers at Online Presenters, and I like it. The least but not the last important is Vote Counter, Mr. Graham Carnes. Please introduce.
Thank you, Toastmaster. I live in a country where you are required to vote, or at least you're required to turn up at the polling booth. So we don't have to run get out to vote campaigns. And I'm not going to run a get out to vote campaign tonight, but what I am going to encourage you to do is vote for the best speaker, the best evaluator, and the best table topics participants, provided they meet the minimum and maximum time requirements. So when you hear the speakers or the evaluators or the topics people and you want to vote, send your votes to me. I will collate them, and later we will announce who won.
Oh, thank you very much, Graham. Right, and we're moving on. Let me tell you briefly what is going to happen next. Next part of our meeting is the 3 speeches, followed by a table topics contest. After the table topics, exciting, fabulous part of the evening, we have a new member introduction. Oh, I like that, new members in our club. And then we're going to have evaluators, 3 evaluators evaluating the speakers, then general evaluator reports, and then in the end, we have append it back to our club presidents. And in the end, don't leave, stay for a chat. We're going to have a good time. The next bit is our first speaker. So let me introduce our first speaker, Rosena Duncanson, with her speech titled Your True Potential. Visionary Communication Level 1, Mastering Fundamentals, Evaluation and Feedback. Your True Potential. Rosena Duncanson.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster of the J. As you can see behind me, a football field. I had the good fortune of watching what I deem to be a famous movie clip called The Fighting Giants. Now, I'm not a big American football fan, but this movie piqued my interest. There was a short clip in the movie that showcased one of the players. The coach thought that player had what he deemed to be true potential that he was not tapping into. He asked this player to get down in a bear crawl position, so on his knees and his hands, and he wanted him to crawl across the football field just 30 yards. The player said, no problem, I can definitely do that with ease. The coach said, on top of that, I want you to put this player on your back. He said, I can do that too, that's not a problem. Last thing, I want you to be blindfolded. So in a bear crawl position, a player on your back, blindfolded, 30 yards. No problem, coach, I can do it. He gets on his knees and he starts to crawl, 10 yards, 20 yards. Coach says, don't stop, keep going. 30 yards. Coach says, you're nearly there, keep going. 40 yards, 50 yards. 60 yards, he seems to take a break. Coach says, you're not there yet, keep going, don't give up, give it all you've got. He keeps going. 70 yards, 80 yards. Coach is cheering him on and saying, don't stop, you're almost there. He said, Coach, I'm getting tired. He said, you're not there yet, keep going, don't stop. 80 yards, 90 yards, 100-yard line, goal line. He says, Coach, there's nothing left of me, and he drops to the floor. The coach takes off the blindfolds and tells him to look up. When he looks up, he sees where he is, at the goal line, far beyond where he thought he actually can go. He was exhausted, but he was accomplished. And the coach said to him, this is what I know you can do. I know it's in you. You've got to ensure that you show all you have, people are watching you. You see, that movie touched me in a big way. There were 3 key things that I took away from that particular clip. The first thing is you're going to have challenges. There's going to be something on your back. It may be finances. It may be your job. It may be a difficult coworker, hard family member. There's going to be some challenge weighing you down, but you're going to have to keep moving. The next thing is blinding yourselves to your own limitations. There is so much potential in each one of us, and because of our sight, we stop short of what we're good for. And we have to be blinded to our limitations. Cover your eyes and go beyond your limits. But the most important thing that I learned was having a coach, having a cheerleader who was on your side saying, you can do it, keep going, don't give up, you're not there yet, don't stop, keep going, don't give up. The weights are gonna come, the limits are beyond what you can see, and having a cheerleader is the ultimate thing. You see, I was fortunate to have such a thing. A few years ago, when I joined Toastmasters, I was asked to sign up for the evaluation contest. And to be quite honest, I was like, this is not something I can do. I'm not able to speak on the spot. I'm not able to think that quickly to give someone feedback. That is not what's for me. And I did it, and I did not do well. I failed. I did not even place. But I had coaches and cheerleaders who said, don't stop. You can keep doing it. Don't give up. And I did. One year I went all the way to district, but I didn't place. And I said, you know what? This is just not for me. And I was told to blind myself to my limitations. You have the potential to not just participate, but to place. Go ahead and do it again. You can do it. I'm there for you. Keep pushing. And this year I did just that. I knew that COVID-19 was a new weight that was on my back. In a virtual environment, no longer at a stage, in person, I was forced to go beyond what I was accustomed to and go into a virtual environment. And on top of that, I was able to have a cheerleader who says, you can do it. I was blinded to my limitations. Unfortunately, this year I came second at the district. And I realized that it's so important to have, 1, the awareness that there will be challenges. 2, being blinded to my limitations and not letting anything get in my way. And listen to my cheerleaders, my coaches, my supporters, my friends who know my true potential that I might not be able to see in myself, and keep pushing. So please, Toastmasters and guests, be blind to your limitations, be aware of the weights, but go ahead and push yourself with your coaches to reach your true potential. Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you very much, Rosena. What a brilliant speech. And we moving on to the speaker number 1. Speaker number 1 is Lukas Calafell with his speech, Beer and History. Beer, people around the world enjoy it. It comes constantly searching ways to improve their products, and craft beer, at least in the United States, has become a growing industry. How much do we know about the significance of beer in the development of a civilization? To help us understand, please welcome Lukas Calafell with his speech, Beer and History.
When you think about beer, there are some images that may come to your mind. That freshly poured pint, joining with your friends, colleagues, or family to drink a cold one after a long day. And for those that overindulge, this photo might be more appropriate. But I want to challenge you, and I want you to think about another image. I want you to have this image in your mind the next time you have a beer. What you're looking at here is how early humans drank their beer. And you say, well, this is kind of strange. They're drinking out of straws out of a shared pot. And they're doing that because early forms of beer, those who made it could not remove the chaff, the debris that came with the wheat and the barley that they used to make the beer. So they used the straws to get the liquid, but without the debris. Before I go in depth with how beer influenced different civilizations, we have to know how we got there. What is the foundation for beer to even be discovered? And the first thing to know is that we as a human species have been hunters and gatherers for thousands of years. And at some point we migrated out of Africa into Mesopotamia, the Fertile Crescent. Now, anthropologists argue and can't fully agree on what exactly caused them to move to Mesopotamia, but they moved there, and out of circumstance of geography, it was fertile in terms of wild crops and wild animals. With this move also came this gradual shift from hunting and gathering to intentional agriculture. With agriculture and intentionally doing so, that allowed people to remain and adopt a more sedentary lifestyle. When you're staying put, your population tends to grow rather than if you are being nomadic. And with the agricultural system, lifestyle, and a population growth, they remained sedentary, and that allowed more permanent settlements to develop, and they would eventually evolve to become cities. With intentional agriculture, we have the agriculture, a growing population, and with the food surplus, that resulted in diversification of labor. Simply what that means is that people don't have to do the same task as everyone else in order for the settlement to survive. People can do and specialize in different things like craftsmanship, education, and administration. Where beer comes is in two discoveries. The first is through agriculture. They found out that wheat or barley soaked in water over time will release an enzyme called maltose sugar, otherwise known as malt. The other discovery was that malted barley or malted wheat put together with gruel, which is basically a boiled water with cereals, over time will ferment and become beer in its earliest form. I want to talk about the Sumerians and the first known system of writing that we know of called Cuneiform. In Sumerian society, the temple was the key administrative center. And they used this cuneiform tablet to document different things. They used it to document food rations to go to the public, and they documented wages as well. What you'll see circled there is actually the symbol for beer. That means that administrators, workers received beer as part of their wages, including beer and other foodstuffs. If we go to ancient Egyptian society, they also used beer for wages for administrators, workers, religious leaders. It was a key and central part of their society, to the extent that they came up with this phrase called beer and bread, which took on the symbol for health and a civilized population. It became a slogan that they said to each other in passing, beer and bread, similar to saying, wishing somebody good fortune, like good luck or something to that extent. Beer wasn't an isolated incident in Mesopotamia or in Egypt, but in the Aztec civilization in modern day Mexico, they developed pulque, which they used as they used beer for religious ceremonies to that extent. And in the Andes Mountains, the Incas used chicha, which was their form of beer. In ancient China, they developed a beer using rice and millet. There are some traditions that we even have today that have ties back to ancient history. As you see here, we have a group of people putting their glasses together, ready to drink their beverage, and that ties back to this shared communal drink. It's a symbol for us combining our glasses together into one vessel and sharing a communal beverage. When you're toasting or saying cheers to someone, that goes back to ancient history because people in that time thought that beer had supernatural and magical properties, which is why many of them used them for religious rites and ceremonies. So in a sense, when you are toasting to someone or sharing that beer, saying cheers and getting ready to drink your beer, that's not only wishing them good fortune, but also some supernatural fortune as well. The next time you drink a beer, remember that you're not just drinking any beer, you're drinking something that has its ties to ancient civilizations, and you are taking part in something that is truly ancient. I'll leave you with these words from Rudyard Kipling. Payday came, and with it, beer. Cheers. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Lukas. Well, I personally don't drink, but in all good days, my student years drank lots and lots of beer. Feel empowered now. Thank you. And now I'm all excited to introduce speaker number 3. And the reason being for it is her icebreaker. And Angela Heath, with her speech, Why They Call Me a Pusher. In her icebreaker speech, Angela gets transparent with us about being a pusher, but maybe not the type we're thinking of. In her work for Visionary Communication Level 1, Mastering Fundamentals, Angela Heath, and her speech, Why They Call Me a Pusher.
About 2 months ago, I introduced myself to the club, and I shared with you my 3 pivots for business. I told you about when I started and I called my business the wrong name. I shared with you when my son was diagnosed with leukemia, and I fumbled and bumbled around after that. And then I also shared with you my COVID-19 pivot. Fellow Toastmasters and honored guests and friends, today I want to share with you why they call me a pusher. I am a pusher. Now, let me clarify, because some of you are just old enough that the term pusher means I sell drugs. So let me be clear. I don't sell drugs. I don't take drugs. Never have. But let me take you back to a point in time when I was fired. I know it's hard to believe, but I was fired. You see, my manager told me that I wasn't an independent thinker, I couldn't write, I wasn't a team player, I could do nothing. And you know what I did? I laughed because I never believed a word she said. And so when they fired me, I celebrated. I was so happy. I called one of my best friends and we went out for drinks. I remember that day when I pushed through the door and I got into the fresh air and it smelled like freedom. I'm a pusher. I remember when my son was diagnosed with cancer and I was fumbling and bumbling around because I'm like, oh my gosh, I make my living traveling. I can't travel while this kid is in the hospital. So I went online and I said, I've got to discover a way to earn income. And I started doing what I saw everybody else doing. And I had to push through all of the confusion. I had to push through all of the failure. I had to push until I figured out, okay, Angela, why not combine what you love and what everybody tells you that you're good at with what the market wants? COVID-19 comes. All of a sudden, people are asking me, how can they help? How can I help them? How can I help them take their offline programs online? How can I help them prepare for sales presentations now that they have to sit inside of a little box? And I had an aha moment. I said, you know what? I can help. And I started to build this concept of the Virtual Speaker Academy. And that's a place where people can learn to come online and be competent, confident, and creative when they bring their message to their audience. So you can imagine how happy I was when I found this club a couple months ago. I was like, these are my people. These people are interested in the same thing I am passionate about. And so I am a pusher. Right now, I'm pushing through sleepless nights. I am pushing through networking online. I am pushing through to get something new established. And guess what? Just like when I pushed through getting fired, I'm celebrating. I'm working hard and I am celebrating because I love it. I love being a pusher. I've got a question for you, fellow Toastmasters. How many of you are pushers? I want to see a show of hands. How many of you will push past doubt? How many of you are willing to push past fear? How many of you are pushers? All right, there's some of us out there. But let me be clear. This is my definition of a pusher. A pusher is someone who persists until something happens. So no matter what it is that you're going after, that goal, that objective in your life, you've got to push until something happens. And you know, when you start something new, doesn't it feel like there's this huge boulder that never moves? I know you've all seen that cartoon where the guy's pushing and pushing and pushing, and that boulder doesn't look like it moved. But I'm here to tell you, from one pusher to another, that if you persist, something will happen. And you too, as a pusher, can have the time of your life. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster of the day.
Oh, thank you very much, Angela. What a brilliant icebreaker. Thank you, I enjoyed that. And we moving on to the next part. Exciting part of the evening is our timer reports. Mr. Timer, Jim, please give us a report for the speakers.
Yes, Mr. Toastmaster, all of our speakers qualify. Our speaker, Rosena, 541. Lukas, 746. Toastmaster Angela, 529. They all qualify.
Excellent. So all speakers are qualified. And now I encourage all the guests and club members, please send your votes to our vote counter, Graham. Send your votes in the chat box to our vote counter, Graham. Pick one speaker that you think should win in today's context and send him a quick message. You can do it right now. The next part of the evening is table topics. So, Table Topics Contest and Table Topics Master, Emily Thompson. I hand the stage to you, Emily. Go ahead.
Thank you, Andre. I have been asked to hand the stage to Lou Brown, who would like to do the member inductions and the prospective member speeches at this time. So Lou Brown, you're up.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. For the benefit of our guests, as Vice President of Membership, it is my duty to welcome our new members to our club as part of an induction ceremony, and to also oversee a little ceremony we have, or it's really more of an experience for potential members who are not Toastmasters to present something called a prospective member speech. Now, we have a prospective member speaker who will be speaking tonight that I have been in communications with for the past several weeks, who had attended one meeting. And in between, we talked about doing the prospective member speech, and I informed him that, well, you have to attend 2 meetings before doing that. And we proceeded down that path. Well, lo and behold, I happened to be looking on our website today and noticed, wait a minute, you can actually do that speech on your second meeting. I should know this as VPM, but somehow it was buried deep in the website. In any event, I checked with him at our meeting just now, or a little while ago at the beginning, and asked, would you be ready to do your speech? He is stepping up to the plate. Can you believe it? He is not a Toastmaster. He's giving a prospective member speech. He is ready to dive right in and show us what he's all about. Fellow Toastmasters, guests, please welcome Sachin Jain as he's going to share with us who he is and why he would like to be a member of our club. Mr. Jain. Oh, please unmute yourself, sir. Bottom left.
What's the timing on this?
3 to 5 minutes, sir. Timing will be green light at 3, yellow light at 4, red light at 5.
Thank you, Luis, for giving me opportunity to present myself today as a with this prospective member speech. And thank you, Mr. President, and all the club members for agreeing to hear my introduction. So myself is Sachin Jain. I am from New Delhi, India, which is my hometown. And during last 4 weeks, I have been in 4 different cities. So when I first joined, in my first meeting, I was in Reno, Nevada. Then second meeting I could not attend because I was traveling to Sacramento, California. Then in third meeting I was in San Francisco, and now I'm back to New Delhi. So that's why I could not. This is like after a gap of 2 weeks, I'm attending my second meeting. About myself, my journey. I came to US in 2008 for pursuing my MBA, and then I started working in US. Like for last 12 years, I've been working in US in different like 12 cities of US. I have lived so far. I've lived in Boston, New York, Houston. I've lived in Pittsburgh, Ohio, Cleveland. I have lived in Seattle. I have lived in San Francisco, San Diego, and Reno. So, and thereafter I moved like in 2018, I moved to UK for like around 1 year in Scotland, Glasgow, Scotland, where I was working for JP Morgan. Everybody from US know about JP Morgan Bank. And it was, I mean, I learned a lot working in different cultures. I have so far worked in US, UK, and India. In India also, I worked in many different cities like in Bangalore, Pune, Gurgaon, and New Delhi. And so working in different environments with different people in different cultures gave me a broader perspective to analyze the things and to appreciate the diversity among the cultures. That is a brief introduction about me. About my education, I have basically I'm a project manager in an IT company, and I work for like banks, financial institutions, state governments for the IT and IT projects, digital transformation, those kind of things. And I wanted to join Toastmaster for like last 2-3 months. I've been actively looking to join a good renowned renowned club, which is like which has experienced people like I see here. Most of the people are so experienced, and I feel very honored to be a part of this community because I'm looking forward to learn a lot from here. And the reason I joined Toastmaster is two months back, I failed in like back to back in 3 to 4 different interviews, and then I realized it could be because of my communication. So I thought like, why to sharpen my communication skill, I need to do something. And then I started researching online what is the best I can do to improve my communication, and then I started looking for online clubs, and this is the club I found. I knew about Toastmaster for last 7 years. I joined a couple of meetings in Boston in one of the Toastmasters, and at that time I could not join because of time crunch, but now I am fully prepared to be an active member in near future. And thank you once again for giving me this opportunity to introduce myself. Thank you. Over to you, Vice President Membership, Luis.
Thank you very much, Sachin. Appreciate that. Wonderful to learn a little bit more about you and your background. And you will be hearing from me very soon within the next day. Okay, we also have a new member induction. Our newest member is Mary Ruth Dilling. There she is. How you doing, Mary Ruth? And we will be performing her new induction ceremony. Okay, fellow Toastmasters and honored guests, on behalf of Online Presenters Toastmasters, it is my duty and my privilege to induct Mary Ruth Dilling into our club. This is an important occasion both for Mary Ruth and for our club. As experienced speakers and Toastmasters, this individual will enrich us as we strive to enrich her in a spirit of sharing and enjoyment. Together, we expand our effectiveness as dynamic leaders, presenters, and communicators. Mary Ruth, please wait until I call on you to affirm your commitment to the Toastmasters promise. In the presence of fellow online presenters, do you, Mary Ruth, pledge to attend meetings regularly and prepare for each assignment, to actively participate in club activities, to evaluate your fellow club members in a positive, constructive manner, to build open, friendly relationships with our fellow members, and to bring other new members into the club so that they too can gain the benefits of Toastmasters? Mary Ruth, please unmute and say I do.
I do.
Wonderful. To the current members of Online Presenters, I remind you of your pledge to support Mary Ruth and her quest for self-development, to provide her with positive, helpful evaluations, to maintain a friendly, supportive atmosphere, and to make her Online Presenters Toastmasters membership a rewarding and fulfilling experience. Congratulations, Mary Ruth. Welcome to Online Presenters. Everyone, please feel free to unmute and give Mary Ruth a round of applause.
Well done. Welcome, Mary Ruth.
Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you, everyone.
Back to you, Madam Topics Master.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm looking for my own picture. Thank you, Lou Brown. And now we're going to go to table topics where we practice speaking informally. I have some topics that I have chosen. I'm looking at my time. It looks like we'll have time for about 4. We'll see how this goes. I'm going to give you choices today. And today the theme being what it is, who stole my cheese? It's a little bit about nature and applications there. So I'm going to give you some relaxing things to think about so you don't have to think about who stole my cheese. And I would like my first speaker, if you choose to accept, Cheney Ockert. Would you care to speak about either yoga and massage, yoga or massage, and tell us about this relaxing activity and whether you can celebrate nature at the same time as doing either yoga or a massage?
Thank you, Madam Table Topics. I am going to pivot a little bit and not talk about yoga, but talk about Pilates, because I think the absolute best combination is Pilates and then a massage. Pilates, if you all don't know, was actually developed by Joseph Pilates for boxers. And what Joseph Pilates saw is that when people develop strong core, strong muscles, flexible muscles, that they were better able to be athletes in boxing. But as we all know, boxers definitely need a massage on a regular basis. And so I too agree that when anyone is doing Pilates, they should end the Pilates time with a good massage afterwards. In fact, my Pilates teacher, after a strong workout, she will encourage us to have that massage and drink a lot of water, because that will help all of the toxins, which that's what our bodies are meant for. All of those toxins will leave our bodies, and then we can enjoy our life more in a natural state without all of the toxins that could be. Thank you, Madam Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Cheney. Next, I have another pair of choices. They're going to get a little weirder as we go along, because that seems like fun to me. And these are, I'd like the next speaker to tell us something about goat yoga, which is a thing in Arizona in the United States, where you practice yoga with goats, or cat cafes, and whether this would help you to relax and how does it relate to nature. And for my next volunteer victim, David Carr, are you available to chat with us about this?
I suppose, if I must, yes. Cat cafes, is that what it was?
Cat cafes.
Yeah, I'll speak about cat cafes. I'm not particularly a fan of cats. I have an aunt who, actually I have several. I have an aunt. I have my wife's aunt is also a cat person. There are several cat people in my life, somewhat distantly in my life. But me, I'm not a cat person. And if I was at a cat cafe, or if I was running a cat cafe, I think the cats would be on the menu. We'd see if we could make some good, fried cat sandwiches. I don't know. Do you think cats would roast up well? Would they work well in a fryer? I'm sorry. I know that there are cat people out there who are completely freaking out at the moment, and I'm sorry to give offense, but cats don't like us, and so why should we like them? That's my impression. Back to you, Madam Table Topics Master.
Thank you, David, for that revelatory impromptu speech about cat cafes. Next, I am going to go to a guest, so all guests be on alert. Again, we're trying to tie something relaxing to nature. And for guest Jeanette, if you are willing to help us, this is the question. Which would you rather do and to celebrate nature and to relax? Would you rather watch an animal camera focused on the bears in an Alaskan national park? Or would you rather watch videos of the penguins in Kansas going to the Nelson Atkins Art Institute?
Okay, dear Madam Table Topics, yes, I think if I have to do some sort of meditation, was that the question? Yeah, okay, if I have to do a meditation between, like you said, watching an animal, I would choose a cat, because I think animals are they're very smart. And the other day, while I was outside, I saw a cat and I said hello to the cat. And as I was going inside my apartment, the cat followed me. So I think the cat really understood what I wanted to relay to her or him. I don't know if it was a male or female. So if I had to do a meditation, especially we're in the period like it's almost Halloween, and I think the black cats are very popular for Halloween. So I would choose a cat and I would meditate on the cat, because I think also cats can be a familiar animal. So they could be an animal that could be representative of, they could represent something spiritual or something like to follow us and to help us in certain, in hard times. So if I had to meditate on an animal, I would choose a cat, because I think cats are very smart, even though we might think that they don't like us or they're very independent. But I think the cats, a cat would be my choice. So to all of you.
Thank you, Jeanette. Thank you, Jeanette. I believe that's all that we have time for today. I need to ask our timer, Jim Gould. Mr. Timer, can you tell us, did our 3 contestants for today all meet the time limitations?
Yes, Madam Table Topics Master, they all do qualify. Toastmaster Cheney, 124, Toastmaster David, 114, and Toastmaster Jeanette, 152. Madam Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Mr. Timer. At this time, all members and guests may send by private chat their vote for the best table topics speaker, Cheney, David, or Jeanette, to our vote counter. And I believe is that Graham Cairns today. Okay, and now I'm going to turn it over, sorry, we're sort of out of order here, to our general evaluator, I believe is next, Nick Lacani.
Thank you very much, Emily. And thank you, Andre. This is not normally the way we do things, but that's fine. We'll go with that. Good job, Andre, for the beginning part of the meeting. Really like that, and on time, which I really love. Excellent. This section is all about evaluation, and we're going to go with the three speech evaluators. First of all, I'd like to welcome the evaluator number 1, Jim Barber.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. My fellow Toastmasters are most welcome guests, and especially Toastmaster Rosena Duncanson. This was a project from the Visionary Communications Level 1 path, Your True Potential. Rosena, potential fulfillment. This is a topic near and dear to my heart, so I was delighted that you chose this particular topic. I'm also delighted with what you did with it. Let's see specifically how well you fulfilled your potential in this project. Let's start with vocals, because that's easy. Everything was top-notch. Your diction, your pacing, your vocal power, your pauses, everything that you did was just top-notch. You communicated wonderfully to us verbally. The words that you used and the way that you used them, they were so descriptive. When you were talking about going down the football field, 80 yards, 90 yards, you didn't simply describe what was going on. You put us on the field. We felt it. We felt as we were dragging ourselves down the field. That was wonderfully done. Now, of course, vocals are only half of the thing. You've also got the visual thing, and you were right on topic there as well. Let's start with your background. I loved your background. It was simple. I love simple backgrounds. It was effective. We knew immediately what you were talking about there, that you were going to have a sports theme. It was appropriate. I liked the way that visually all the lines in the picture drew our attention down to you in the center of the screen. That was wonderfully done. Perfect choice of backgrounds. And speaking of the center of the screen, you were well positioned in the visual frame. You were in the center, it was well used, you were close enough to the camera, everything worked visually. That was wonderful. You had terrific eye contact. We felt that you were talking to us. And so you didn't look at the screen, you weren't looking people in the eye, you looked at the camera, and that was so very well done. I have one suggestion for you. To keep people's attention. We are in an attention deficit society. To keep people's attention, you need to change things up a little bit every now and then. And a good way of doing that is with props or gestures. And you could have done that in your presentation tonight, for example, by simply holding up fingers whenever you were doing point number 1, point number 2, or point number 3. That would have given us a change of pace. We would have seen, I was holding it behind the little mouse there. Point number 1, point number 2, or point number 3. But that it would have given us a change of pace in what we were seeing, and it also would have given us a change in, it would enabled us to follow along exactly where you were talking about at each particular point. But this was a great presentation. You demonstrated your true potential, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you're going to do in the future. Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you very much, Jim. And now to evaluate the speech number 2, I'd like to welcome Michael Alexander. Thank you.
First, I'd like to thank you, Lukas, for giving me a chance to indulge and at the same time enjoy an academic feeling that I am indulging and learning. There is no subject that I can think of that is nearer and dearer to our hearts than beer. It truly is, and I mean this, it truly is a major matter of culture. It is part of how we meet, how we grow, and how we celebrate. And you brought us through that. And you gave us a feeling of where beer comes from. So you took something that we simply grab and swallow, and instead gave us a history to go with. And I thought that was wonderful and effective, and hopefully people who paid attention will never look at beer the same way again, although they'll probably drink it the same way. I liked your slideshow. I liked the fact that you quadranted, or that you partitioned your slides, so that instead of being a series of strobe effects, it became a growth and things fit together. And you hit the various parts of the world, which for an international club and an international audience is very fully appropriate. I think that was just wonderful on that score. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of a dynamic speech. It was a little bit quiet, and beer is a subject you can have fun with. You should have fun with. And so I'd be a little bit more playful in some of the descriptions. I might have talked a little bit about some of the things that go right and wrong with beer, about how the economics worked with it, because there's a fascinating economy with beer. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to evaluate your speech. As soon as you defined it, I was excited enough to want to be your evaluator. And I think there's a lot there that justifies that desire, and I thank you for that. I think there's a lot more you can play with when you play with it, that you might want to think about developing even further on that score, from alewives and everything else. And alewives are not the fish. It is a statement, basically, that you have married a good woman who knows how to brew ale. And it's probably the first women's lib job dating all the way back to Egypt. Thank you very much for showing us about the straws and the toasting. I thought that was fascinating. And I thought about all of the places where I salute with a beer or anything else, never be the same again. So thank you very much. May your beer not disappear in a virtual background or any place else. Here's to you.
Thank you very much, Michael. Thank you. I'm not so sure about a women's lib job making beer for the man. I don't really think that works, but anyway, that's a different story. Now let's have a look at the evaluator number 3. Please welcome Lee Sing Zhu.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster of the day. Thank you, General Evaluators and Toastmasters. Welcome the guest and Toastmaster Angela Heath. I love the speech. When I first hear the title, I laughed because I take that they call me as a pusher, and pusher means someone being pushy, like a boss, always pushing somebody else to do things. I feel like, yeah, I'm kind of pushy. And then you define the pusher for being a drug seller. And then you take another turn and define the pusher. You prefer to define is as somebody who persists until something happens. And you share with us your experience of pushing through all the difficulties in life and achieve the success. I think it's a very compelling story, and I love the story to the point I kind of struggled between the desire, I want to sit there and listen to a story, and also I have to serve as an evaluator to see the different aspects of your speech. I think your speech is perfect, and the story is perfect, and the way you deliver it is perfect. And I like the use of words, and I like your the pitch and your pace and the variety of your voice. I think your speech is very powerful and is very attention-catching, and you certainly have 100% of my attention. I can't find anything you need to work on, honestly, but if I have to say something, I probably noticed that you have not used the word of the day, which is refractory. I'm not sure if you have used it. And also, I think you could use a little more gesture to enhance your speech. Back to you, Mr. Evaluator.
Thank you very much, Lee Sing. Thank you. Now, we're going to go back to the helpers that we've had in the meeting, and we're going to get their reports. First of all, I'd like to go to Jim Gould for the times, please, for the evaluators.
Yeah, Mr. Toastmaster, all of our evaluators qualified. Toastmaster Jim Barber, 322. Toastmaster Michael Alexander, 314. And Toastmaster Li Sing Shu, 231. They all did quite well.
Okay, so they all qualify?
Yes, they did indeed.
Brilliant. So please send the vote for your best evaluator by private chat to vote counter Graham Cairns. And if Jim, you can just put in the chat the 3 names again, that would be brilliant. Thank you. Our next helper.
I've just done that, Toastmaster.
Okay, fabulous. Thank you very much, Jim. Our next helper is our R counter. Please welcome Asil Boyjanova.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. The most used unnecessary sounds was and it was used 30 times. The most used filler words were and so. I sent individual report to some speakers privately in the chat. Back to you, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Asil. Thank you for that. Our next helper, our next role player, is our grammarian. Please welcome Trisha Smith.
Hello, Toastmasters. I have to say, I was listening to everybody very closely, and I'm going to approach my report a little differently. Now, There was one mention of the word of the day in the chat by Dr. Michael. If your cheese is refractory, no one moved it. And our third evaluator, Lysing, she also used it. So good job. That's 2. So other than what I put in the chat as well about that word. So what I'd like to add is the topics were extraordinary. I thought they were engaging, they were descriptive, they were interesting, they were educational, inspirational, supportive, and the evaluations as well. And a lot to learn. We learned about new meanings of the word pusher, the analogy of cats, different meanings to different people. So that was very interesting. In terms of the use of language, everybody did a great job. So I wanted to focus more feedback on the actual topics. So I thought it was excellent. The topics, the support, the book that Andre described in terms of how he determined the theme. That was awesome too, and how he described it. So overall, good job. Thank you. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Trisha. Thank you for that. Our next role player is our watcher in his, I believe it's his first role in the club. Please welcome Mafazor.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. I have a number of presents. I watched a lot of people throughout this meeting, and I believe it was fun watching everybody how you were moving. So the best virtual background goes to none other than our accountant tonight. All right, and the real background goes to Emily Thompson. All right, but the best framing, and this is sitting in the corner, like, you know, you're sitting in the corner, goes to Suzanne Hewitt. And the best lighting, I couldn't separate between Lukas and our vote counter, Graham tonight. So it's a tie. And the best profile picture, it's again a tie between Rosena and Juliana Clark. By the way, the best smile that brought, I thought, this is none other than Dr. Tasha. And I do have a sleepy head of award for tonight. This goes to our guest, Sachin. And the professional drinker goes to none other than Dr. Michael Alexander. Back to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you very much, Mafazor. Thank you for that. Let's go to our next role player, chat monitor, Sarah Idahan.
Thank you, General Evaluator. Our word of the day was refractory, and I saw it once in the chat. There were a couple of comments regarding the backgrounds and a lot of welcome comments and a lot of humorous comments as well. Mary Ruth needed someone to, if they knew anything about India, and she was able to connect with Sachin, one of our guests. Graham listed a couple of links for the book, anybody who's interested in the book, Who Moved My Cheese. Chris Gould, when talking about beer, she said that was God's way of helping us to be happy. And Graham gave us some information on Australia, that a stroller in South Australia was called a pusher. And he also told us about voting. He said that it's mandatory. There are fines of $20 to $150, and there was a 90% turnout. And Birgit said in Germany there was about an 80% turnout at average. Overall, all in all, I think we had a wonderful chat. If you want to check the chat out, be sure to save it for later review. Those are just only a few responses tonight. Thank you, and back to you, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Thank you. Mr. Vote Counter Graham, would you like to announce the results for tonight's show, please?
with delight and a refractory refusal to not announce the results. See, I managed to get the word in even if it was too late. I have to say, it is one of the closest votes I have seen for ages with the best speaker of the evening, but by just one vote, the winner of tonight's speech, and by the way, all three speakers got multiple votes, but by just one vote, congratulations, Angela, on winning Best Speaker for the evening. For the best table topic, now I'm tempted not to announce this because I am a cat lover, but David just edged out his leading rival for best table topic. And in the best evaluation, congratulations, Dr. Michael Alexander, for winning the best evaluation for this evening.
Thank you very much, Graham. Thank you for that. Now, it's my job as General Evaluator to actually give my report in about a minute. So I'm going to take two. I'm going to be very quick, and I'm going to be very concise. Toastmaster of the day, Andre, great, really good. The recommendation that I would make is at the introduction part at the beginning, just be a little bit more assertive and a little bit more, you know, pushy, assertive. All right. So well done anyway. Great job. Appreciate it. Timer Jim Gould. I'm not sure what Toastmaster thinks about the cheese on the Toastmaster logo, but I wasn't impressed really. However, great things. You had great colors. You did a great job. The only thing I would recommend seriously is ask somebody if they want an audible time signal. That's the only thing I would recommend. Our counter Asil, great introduction, brilliant starting, great background. But the only thing I would recommend there is, how can we stop our arms and filler words? That's one thing I would ask. Grammarian Trisha, great intro, great report. I'm not sure I heard anything on good language, or maybe I missed it, but you know, maybe a little bit of examples of good language that you heard. But otherwise, brilliant work. Thank you for that. Our watcher, Mafazor, brilliant. I love the idea of awards. How do we get our framing better? How do we be centered? How do we, you know, should we get better lighting? Was there anybody who didn't have good lighting, or, you know, good presence on screen? That would be something that would be valuable to actually help us get better. Otherwise, well done. Really appreciate that. Chat monitor Sarah. Wow, I really enjoyed your report. I'm still looking for something to recommend you on, and I apologize. I should be able to find something, and I kick myself, but otherwise, you know, you did a great job. Well done. Vote counter Graham, I love it. Great report, great repartee, and I don't know what else to recommend on there, and I hate doing this. I must give you a recommendation. I can't think of one right now. Tabletop topic master Emily, you did great. Well done. I can see the red light on. In terms of the three speakers, in terms of the feedback for them, the one thing that I would say is that I thought that you all did well. Recommendations for example, Jim would be just a little bit more specific recommendations on the gestures, putting the blindfold on, taking it off, doing the bear claw, maybe something like that. That's a recommendation I would have probably given to Rosena. In terms of Michael, recommendations I would have given is about the is about the lighting and that the speaker Lukas had, and also have a look at your camera level. I'd love to see your camera at eye level. And in terms of leasing, I see somebody starting the Hoover. Leasing, I liked your evaluation. There was it was very content heavy at the beginning, but give a recommendation. What's in it for the audience? Where's the call to action for the audience? That would be one recommendation I would give to Angela. Otherwise, fabulous job. Well done. Thank you very much. And I'm going to hand back to the president, Nick. Hey, hi, everybody. It's Nick. Great meeting today. Really enjoyed it. Lots of energy, great content. Couple of notices. Next week's Toastmaster is Christian. I believe it's Donna.
Donna Knight.
Yeah, please sign up for roles. just like today, you bang on, you signed up for all the roles, well done. Please sign up for next week. 2 weeks' time is our evaluation contest. We have not 8, not 9, but 10 contestants. We're still looking for some judges and role players. So please contact Michael Alexander for being a judge or a counter, etc. And also Lukas for other role players like timers and so on. So have a look on the website, get in touch with Lukas and Michael. And are there any other reports, any other announcements? Cool. Well done. Thank you very much for a great meeting. It's 9 p.m. Eastern. It's time to close the meeting. Somebody please turn off the recording so we can have a chat and we can listen to some music again.